Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's just me, Just P, my second video. Thank you so much. That's what I want to start off with. Thank you so much to everybody who watched. I genuinely was not expecting over 100 people to watch that first video. I was not expecting anyone to subscribe other than my mother and my boyfriend, like genuinely. And it makes me happy because the whole point of me doing this is that I want to share my story to motivate and to help others using my story, because I feel like there's not a lot of honesty in so many different aspects, whether it's the beauty industry, the health industry, the fitness industry. It seems like everybody's so happy and so perfect and everybody's got it so figured out, and that's not true. And that certainly has not been my experience and journey towards becoming a doctor. So I wanted to help other people. I want those of you who are struggling and that are in my position to know we can do this. We're gonna do it together. I'm sure I'm going to continue to struggle, and I'll document that too. And that's what I told myself. If I'm gonna do this and I say that I'm going to be honest and helping others and sharing my story, then I'm gonna have to share all of it. So this video today, I'm excited about this one. I'm always excited to do things because I only participate in things that I like doing and things that I believe in and things that I believe are substantial. So this video is about everything I wish I knew before coming to medical school. You know how they say don't regret things from the past, don't look back, it's all part of your story. That's great and all, but I could have saved a lot of tears, a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of frustration, you know? I probably could have graduated by now. I should be talking to you as a resident, and here I am talking to you guys as, about to be a third-year medical student. So here we go, buckle up. Things that I wish that like somebody told me, a big sister, another family member that was in medicine could have told me, or having a best friend that was already in medical school to tell me these things. So number one, do not be afraid to ask for help. On your first day of classes, even in high school and undergrad, I remember them doing this. They go over the syllabus and they tell you their office hours, where it's located and what hours they're available from so you can come. And be honest, how many people genuinely have gone to that, whether it's in high school, if you're in undergrad right now, or if you're in medical school right now? It's just something we don't do. And I realized, and so I had this conversation with a professor, Dr. Zarlova. She was one of my favorite professors at Trinity. And she would say, people don't come to office hours. And she was like explaining that surprising to her because grades show that a lot more people should be coming to office hours. So why is it that people don't come? She said, I sit here during my office hours and I just do other things, plan for class, do things that I have to do. And I was like, I think we're scared. I don't think maybe professors have the misconception that we don't care if we're not coming to office hours. And I was like, I think we're afraid, and I think we're nervous for so many different reasons. It's intimidating to be just one-on-one with your professor. It's also embarrassing if you're going after failing an exam, which, by the way, it's never embarrassing to fail at anything in life, genuinely. Like, I'm trying to truly accept and believe that for myself, and I want you to think that way as well. Everyone's going to mess up, and if they haven't messed up, you never know. Like, it's never embarrassing to fail anything. It just means you are going to try something different and you're going to try again. So ask for help. That's number one. This also kind of goes with number one, so I'll say this is number one and not make this number two. And also asking help from your professors, your upperclassmen. They've taken those classes. Ask for help to your upperclassmen. If you're in term one, ask somebody from term two. They freshly just took this class. They can give you help. They can tell you, oh, okay, so for this exam, I messed up because I was focusing on the wrong things, and these are like high yield topics that you should know for the exam. Or they'll tell you, oh, I used to study that way too, and it's not beneficial for this class. In this class, you need to approach it more this way. And those are things that you wouldn't have known if you didn't reach out to an upperclassman. I will say though, when reaching out to an upperclassman, respect their time. Like if you see somebody's like in the library and they're focused, they have their headphones on, don't like just tap on their shoulder. Maybe wait in crossing, or you can, if in passing, be like, hey, could we meet up sometime so that I can get help in anatomy, etc., or whatever class it is that you need help. And the third little part that also goes with number 1 is go to tutoring. So we said we're going to go to office hours from the beginning. And don't wait until you're in so much trouble to go to office hours. That's another thing. And what I'm bringing up now is tutoring. So all of number 1, my first thing that I really wish I knew was asking for help, whether it's from your professor, whether it's from an upperclassman, or going to tutoring. Don't wait too long. What do I mean by too long? When you're waiting for the last exam of the semester and you need a 97 on it to pass, that was too late. And like, be real with yourself. I understand you're like, I think I can do it. I think I can do it. Okay, so maybe you didn't go for after the first exam, right? You didn't go to tutoring, you didn't go to office hours because you're like, I can do better. Maybe you can be honest with yourself and say, I didn't study enough. So the second exam, I'm going to do better. Y'all, if the second exam comes and you did not do better and you did put more effort, go to tutoring, go to office hours, ask an upperclassman. Do not go into the third exam because now you're way past the halfway point of the semester and you're still doing the same thing and you haven't reached out for help. Because what's gonna happen if you have had an unpleasant interaction in office hours or with tutoring is, and we all know this, those of us who've tutored, people will come in for the first time the day before the final exam and they're like, I really need a 90 something in the class, and come before then. Don't wait until it's too late to get help. And I'll be honest with you, this is one of the things I learned the hard way. I got to the point where I wasn't even waiting after the first exam to go to tutoring and go to office hours. I was going from the jump. It was part of my regular schedule that I would go to office hours just to, hey, could you check with me? Am I on page? Do I understand this correctly? I'm struggling with this concept we did today in class. Could we go over this? And not wait so that I'm not so stressed before the exam. And now I have to go to office hours and there's like 15 things that I need to ask. And also other students are doing the same thing as you. So office hours, tutoring tend to be busier before exams because everybody's waiting right before the test time, to get their life right. So progressively go to tutoring, go to office hours, ask your upperclassmen. That's number 1. Ask for help. There's no shame in asking for help. In fact, I want you to always ask for help. See it as advice, asking for advice. So this second one, I didn't put these in any particular order for anybody. It's not like I think number 1 is more important than number 5 or vice versa. I'm going from least important to most important. I'm just going off of like the top of my head. The second thing, and I think I'm gonna say that I think this is one of the biggest things that I wish somebody told me. Do not get caught up in the hype of other students and what they're saying and how well they're saying they're doing in classes. I have fellow classmates who might watch this, so maybe they'll agree. Maybe they're the ones doing this. Guys, look at social media, which is why I'm just now getting into it because I was so against it for so long. People will always hype themselves up. And that's good. Like, have confidence in yourself, love yourself, root for you. Like, if you don't love yourself and you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. But when I say don't get caught up in the hype, everyone's gonna say they're doing well. It's hard to admit that you're not doing well or that you're struggling, especially in medical school where things are so competitive, or college, or any sort of arena that's a lot of competition. Nobody wants to be the weak link or the one that's struggling. So everyone's gonna say they're doing well. There are so many times where people would come up to me and I didn't even ask them. I've never asked anybody their grades. I literally don't ask my boyfriend his grades, what he's gotten on a test. So to me, I'll be honest, it's actually a very big pet peeve of mine for people to be asking me my grade. It's not, like, what does that do for you to know my grade? And it's not because I've always struggled. Like, I hope, that's something that this YouTube channel is probably gonna do. It's gonna make me seem like I'm the queen of the struggle bus. No, I've done very well a lot of the time. I'm just honest. And so I'm not somebody who will come and say, oh, I got the highest grade on the test, even though that's happened multiple times. To the point where people, I think, assume that I'm always struggling because I don't say that. But what people will hear me say is, if somebody comes up to me, I'll give you an example. If somebody comes up to me after an exam that I got the highest grade or I did very well, above average, far above average, I go, it was pretty good. It was challenging. It was like, because it was. I'm not going to act like I got the highest grade or that I did very well and it was like a cakewalk. I was stressed. Lord help me, I won't sin anymore. I won't listen to ratchet music, even though that's a lie because that's my hype music. So that's what I'll say. somebody comes up to me after I did badly on an exam, I'm actually very honest and be like, it's difficult. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I did very badly and I'm very nervous for myself. I'm not one of those people who gets a bad grade and is like, yeah, it was good. People will always gas themselves up. And then what happens, and I wish everybody would stop doing this. So those of you who are watching, you know who you are. Maybe you don't, but so reflect, oh, am I this person who does that? What you're doing by saying your grades is you're making other people, maybe intentionally or unintentionally, feel bad. Okay, like we need to be more socially aware of others. Okay, so in medical school at my school, they'll tell you the class average. They'll tell you it was 57, it was 62, it was 71, which means that there's people who failed, right? So don't be that person that's giving somebody else anxiety. More importantly, don't be that person who gives yourself anxiety because you're believing what everybody else is saying. This leads perfectly into the third thing that I wish I knew before coming into medical school. And this can carry to outside life too. And that is, don't compare your journey to somebody else's journey. So what I mean by that is, don't think you're doing badly because everybody else is doing so well. You don't know what their journey is, you know? Like I've had students come up to me and they're, before when I was doing better, or even now, oh, like, how did you get to this point? You work so hard, this, and then I'll tell them, I went to SU, kicked out, went to Ross, failed. You know, you don't know people's journey. So it looks like I was super seasoned from term one, and that was because I had experience. Or you might think in class, oh, wow, this person knows anatomy so well. Oh, wow, this person knows pharmacology so well. And how come I don't know this well? I'm dumb. Like how, and you don't know their story. You don't know their journey. Somebody, I know I spoke to a lot of people in medical school. Some people were nurses before medical school. Some people were EMTs before medical school. Some people completely had different degrees. And so they have knowledge that they're bringing in that's helping them do well in classes, or that has helped them know how to study correctly. They already know what works best for them. You're only gonna hurt yourself. You're only gonna make yourself more sad. And I'm really like talking to you guys and I'm telling myself, Jessica, listen to what you're telling the people. Don't just preach about it, be about it, you know? Because I've done this. And you're like, wow, she's so much smarter. Wow, he's doing so much better. But all I did by comparing myself was make myself feel badly. And like, not to be messed up, but like somebody else's success or failure doesn't have any direct correlation to you. So how well somebody else is doing doesn't mean that I can't do that well, just as well as them, that there isn't room for both of us to do that well. It also doesn't mean that they're the only one who's going to do that well and I'll never be able to do that well, right? And the same way somebody might tell you, oh, they struggled in something, it doesn't mean that you will. If you're watching this and you're about to go to medical school, I hope I'm not scaring you. Don't think, oh my gosh, like she seems to be smart, she seems to be put together, and if she struggled, then I'm going to struggle. You might be moonwalking in these streets and do phenomenally, and I hope you do. So don't compare, don't compare, don't compare, don't compare, okay? Do the best that you can, do you, be you, follow the rules that we're talking about, be aware of those things, and it'll be good. So this fourth one is you're going to have different study techniques for different classes. That is something that I definitely learned the hard way. Well, because we come from undergrad and we're used to doing things a certain way. And for the most part, it worked. And then you get to medical school and it might not be working as well, or if you're like me, it just wasn't working, right? So different study techniques for different classes. So for example, pathology is a course of integration. Anatomy for me, and I'm speaking for me because it could be different for people, so I'm going to say for me. So for me, pathology was a lot more integrating, a lot more understanding, a lot more conceptual, a lot more you having to put pieces together to make a full story, to understand the patient completely. Anatomy to me was very just like memorization. This is this is that, this is connected to this thing gives you these derivatives. So it was a lot more memory. That's not, so for anatomy, I just did, because it was memory, flashcards, writing things out, giving the book to a classmate and saying, hey, can you test me? With pathology, I had to understand. There was no more just regurgitating information. So therefore, me doing flashcards for pathology, I found took so much time. I'm sitting here writing every single disease and all the lab findings. And then I'm writing down like specific clinical symptoms that the patient will present with. And then I realized that took me forever. Now the exam is tomorrow and I didn't even study it and I don't understand it. So I was trying to do things that were in memory when really that's not how I was going to be tested, and that's not how the subject is. So I was going to struggle. The same way biochem, I think, is a little bit more memorization. So I could study the same way as anatomy, whereas, okay, this enzyme, this. If this enzyme is not here, the patient has this disease, which means that the following thing is going to be accumulated. This thing is going to, So different classes require different study techniques. And again, it's going to be like, well, Jessica, how do I know how I'm supposed to be studying for what class? See, my other rules are going to come in handy. Your professors can tell you what has worked and what hasn't worked for other students, what worked for them, what they suggest for their class. Listen to your professors. They write the exams, so they know what you should be doing. Classmates sometimes will be more real with you. They're going to give you like the true deets and the true scoop on how you're supposed to study. And they'll tell you through trial and error from their experience, like use somebody else's mistakes for your come up, right? Like don't make the same mistakes. Talk to somebody and avoid those mistakes, right? So that's number 4. Make sure you don't study the same way. Why didn't you say make sure? So that's my 4th thing that I wish I knew. Study techniques are going to vary from class to class because I was like trying to fit a square into a circle. I'm like, it works for anatomy, it works for biochem. Why is it not working for pathology? Because it's 2 different classes that force me to use my brain in different ways. So therefore, you're going to prepare for it differently. It's the same way, so for me, I always give athletic analogies because I was an athlete before. The way you train for swimming is not the same way I used to train for soccer, which is not the same way that I trained for tennis. So I shouldn't be studying for anatomy the same way I'm studying for pathology, the same way I'm studying for micro. Okay? So it's different techniques for different classes, and that's the way to go. Number 5. Okay, this one's important. Don't just memorize, learn the information. You know how in undergrad, in high school, and I hope, okay, let me stop saying like that because I don't want this channel to be just for medical students, for anybody who's watching in school and journey. And so don't just memorize. What do I mean by that? You know how in undergrad, where I've gone away so many times where like 2-3 days before the test, I'm just memorizing. And I don't even know what I'm learning, but I know that this is what this is, and I'm just regurgitating things, but I don't understand anything. Let me give you a good example. Actually, this is so good. This is a good example of why you should not just memorize and you should learn physics. Physics, I took as a memory class. Those of you are probably like watching this are like, oh, that's a huge mistake. Physics is not a memory class. You definitely have to understand the formula and why it is the way it is. I memorized all of Physics 1 and Physics 2. You guys, I got A's in those classes in undergrad, Physics 1 and Physics 2. Ask me what I got on physics on the MCAT. You know how badly I did on the MCAT in the physics section? I didn't even use a calculator. Because I had just memorized formulas that when somebody made me apply the formula in the question, I just was like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. The same thing goes while you're in medical school. And then at the end of your first 2 years, you're going to take the CBSE, some schools call it the comp exam, and then you're going to take your step 1. If you just memorized, when you're gonna sit down and now you have to study 2 years worth of information, you are going to be beyond overwhelmed because you didn't learn it. And so now here you are at a point where you're supposed to be sharpening those tools and building on that knowledge. And people on the 3rd floor, people are putting on their roofs, people are decorating their homes, they're just putting the little touches together to go take their step 1 exam, and you're sitting here with the concrete and you're mixing it, so you're just so behind. And yeah, it might have worked in internals, but now when it really counts for a board exam, you're not ready. Don't just memorize, make sure you learn the information to truly learn. And especially because I'm in medical school, we're going to be treating patients. So it's so important to generally know and understand because somebody's life is going to be in your hands, and they're going to present to you with things that we were supposed to have learned and truly understood. And I can't get that thing wrong. And now this patient, if I miss it, they can get even sicker, and God forbid they could even die because I just memorized something and I couldn't recognize it in a patient, or I couldn't apply it in a patient, or I couldn't remember it because it was in my short-term memory and it's not in my long-term memory. Not good. Don't memorize. Make sure you truly learn. And the sixth and final thing is, it sounds a little cheesy, but it's true. Allow yourself to have fun. So I made this mistake a lot. And I think that was one of the big parts of my downfall when I got to term 4 and when I got to term 5. Because of my past, I've already shared with you guys that I failed. I was going to say struggle. That's not even struggling. Struggling is when you can catch yourself. I failed at SGU. I failed at Ross. I came to Trinity School of Medicine like I am going to bring the definition of work hard, harder than anybody's ever seen it. For myself, not for other people, for myself. I was like, you are gonna work harder than you've ever worked in your life. And so I was working and I was working and I was working because I felt like I needed to redeem myself for my past 2 shortcomings, for myself, for my family. Like I needed to work hard. And by the time I got to 4th semester, you can't sustain that energy 24/7 all the time. It's not good physically, it's not good mentally, it's not good emotionally. And when you're not good physically, mentally, emotionally, you're gonna start doing badly. The effort, which is good, it's good to push yourself, it's good to work hard, but you're gonna burn out. You're gonna get to the point where I couldn't sustain. Why was I waking up at 4:30 in the morning in term 1? Because I felt like I had to work really hard and like I needed extra hours. I need more time to study. I need to go hard. I got to 4th semester and I was burned out when it counted the most, right before we go to term 5, right before we take CBSE. Take time for yourself. There's a big misconception too that in medical school you have no life. For sure, we work very, very hard, but work hard, play hard. I don't know how hard you should play, but allow yourself to have fun. Do things that you enjoyed prior to medical school or prior to this new journey that you're on with this new job. If you liked hiking before, now that you have this new job, don't cut it out completely. Maybe, you can't go hiking as much now in medical school as you used to before, but make it a thing. For example, like after every exam, you're gonna go on a hike trip or you're gonna go with your friends. If you like the beach, make it a thing. After exams, you'll go to the beach. So I definitely would say, make sure you do have fun. It is a long journey. You don't want to be worn out. You don't want to be burnt out, and it happens. It happens a lot. And again, it goes back to like don't compare yourself. If you work hard and do what you're supposed to, then you'll have time, and you should have time if things are going the right way and you're using the correct strategies and tools to allow yourself to have fun. But don't think, I have to sit here longer because this person's still in the library. You don't know. Maybe their off day was yesterday. So yesterday was the day that they gave themselves to regroup, do laundry, go hiking, go to the beach, and now they're here to work hard. They got their mental break, their spiritual, they're in check, right? So you have to do the same for yourself. Don't feel like, this person's not taking a break, I can't take a break. This person said they study 16 hours a day, I need to study 16 hours a day. Everybody's different, remember. So all these things, I hope they help you. So let me summarize. I have them like in a little notebook. So number 1, we said we're asking for help, whether that be our professors, office hours, upperclassmen, going to tutoring, we're asking for help. Number 2, this is one of the most important ones, if not the most important one. Do not get caught up in the hype, okay? People are gonna lie, I'm gonna say it. I'm not calling them liars, but I'm gonna say people are gonna lie. People are gonna hype themselves up. People are gonna make you feel like you're the only one who's struggling. People are gonna make you feel like you're the only one who failed. Some people will even be like, oh, you failed? And they probably failed worse than you. We don't listen to them. Stay away. Number 3, don't compare your journey to others, okay? Especially not to bring yourself down, but also remember we talked about the hype. Don't be that person either that's gassing yourself up and it's coming off as obnoxious, okay? Number 4, study techniques vary from class to class. Number 5, don't just memorize, learn. Don't be like me with physics where you just memorize and I don't know physics now because I did that. And 6, lastly, always have fun. Thank you for joining me on It's Just Me, Just P. And I truly hope you enjoy this. Share this content, the first video, this video, with anybody who you think needs it. If you're not in this medical school journey and you just think that my misery is funny, subscribe, share it to somebody else who you think might think it's funny, and bye.